Hi, Chloe Darby here, lead practitioner at Harroway and geography teacher. I'm going to talk to you today about retrieval at Harroway and making informed choices. So, in this session, we're going to be looking at what retrieval is, how effective retrieval happens, what retrieval you should plan day to day, where retrieval fits into your curriculum, and how to become a master of retrieval. So, what is retrieval? Retrieval is simply the act of recalling learnt information from memory. It is not something new, it's something I'm sure you've already heard of and have already been doing. But what's so important about retrieval is your understanding that it's retrieving information from your long term memory. So, your long term memory is infinite, you can put as much as you want into there. It takes a while sometimes for the information to get there, but you can fit anything in there. However, your working memory is much more limited, much more finite. You've perhaps, and pupils, only got about 4 or 5 spaces in your working memory. So it's really important we focus on getting information into the long term memory in order to free up spaces in that working memory. So having a look at the multi-store of memory, you can see that, again, information goes through lots of stages before we can actually retrieve it. So incoming information goes into your sensory memory, your short-term memory, where hopefully you encode, rehearse that information to get it into your long-term memory. And only then, once it's in the long-term memory, can you retrieve that information. So it's really important that we're building people's schema and that we've got lots of information into that long-term memory in order to be able to retrieve it. So, you probably have seen the forgetting curve before. I'm always surprised when I remember that this was done on, one scientist forgetting gobbledygook words he was trying to learn, and how much quicker our pupils' forgetting curves will be, how much steeper. So retrieval, the idea behind it is to aid the retentions, almost create these spikes where we're going back over information and therefore more of it is retained. So, how does effective retrieval happen? Been doing lots of reading and academic reading with the other lead practitioners and our inquiry groups, and a couple of facts here for you. So, memory that is not rehearsed is usually lost within 18 to 30 seconds. 92% of students reported retrieval helped them. 72% of students reported retrieval made them feel less nervous for tests and exams, really crucial in an age where there's lots of anxiety for our pupils. And retrieval has benefited both low and high ability. So there's lots of information out there about why retrieval is so effective and kind of why it's so important. So how does effective retrieval actually happen? Now, from all of our classroom experience and reading, put together this list of what effective and ineffective retrieval is. So effective retrieval is low stakes, it's challenging, it's varied, it's spaced out, it enhances learning, it builds pupils' confidence, it's quite often independent, it allows knowledge to be forgotten before retrieving, so it's kind of planned in. It's not always just you retrieving what you did the activity or lesson before. And it's both concepts and content. And what is ineffective retrieval? Something that's mundane, drill and kill, same thing every day, just always a starter, easy, a recorded assessment or a test, something a pupil can fail, scaffolded and supported really heavily always, or recurs directly after the information is retained and just content, no kind of concepts or skills. So what retrieval should you plan to do day to day? Now, from September, students at Harroway are expected, once they've lined up outside the classroom, you greet them, ensure they're uniform and they're ready to learn, that they go in and they get on with their do now activity straight away. Now, these are fantastic opportunities to complete some retrieval. So I've got here a retrieval quiz. You've got 1 to 7 questions, some from last lesson, some from last topic, some from previous years, and then one there from their primary school. On a similar lines, retrieval grid, another do now potential activity where you've got coordinates, the pupils need to locate terms, define them, and then a higher order thinking skill, perhaps they will link to and explain why they're linked. Just like with the do now, From September, students at Harroway are also going to be using knowledge organisers. Now, some have used knowledge organisers before. This is a new thing that everyone will be using them, and particularly for Key Stage 3, their homeworks are going to be very much based around these knowledge organisers. So here's an example of a Year 9 knowledge organiser on climate change, and this is information that they will learn over their climate change unit. And in order to retrieve it, they can use the read, cover, check model. So perhaps they focus on the first box, climate change, with its definitions and facts. They read it once, twice, cover it up, write down what they can remember, and go back and check what they've missed. That's the most vital part. Checking what they've missed and making sure that they're correcting it. Okay, another activity, brain dump. So really simple activity where you can have an empty brain either drawn or provided for the students, and you'll ask them to, from their long-term memory, retrieve as much information as they can. And again, really important that you fill in those gaps. So they maybe look back at their notes, back at their knowledge organisers, and add in the parts that they've missed. Disprove or improve. So retrieval doesn't always happen at the start of a lesson, doesn't have to always be evolved around a knowledge organiser or a do now task. Perhaps at the middle of the lesson you do an disprove improve topic, so they read the statements, they say whether it's true or false, and most importantly improve those statements that they think are true or false, particularly if they're false, kind of make them correct. So where does retrieval fit into my curriculum? It's really important pupils retrieve the most powerful knowledge. And as a department, you need to have a look at the curriculum and make sure you're aware of what the powerful knowledge is and what parts of that curriculum and that knowledge that pupils have to retrieve. Once you've done that, you then need to think about spacing and interleaving that retrieval. So you'll know from the learning scientists that interleaving and space practice is really, really vital. So once they've learned those core golden nuggets, powerful knowledge from climate change, when are they going to be going back and retrieving that in Year 9, in Year 10, in Year 11? So how do you become a master of retrieval? Put into practice everything we've just discussed. So be aware that retrieval happens after lots of stages, sensory memory into short-term memory into long-term memory before you can retrieve it. Being aware of what effective and ineffective retrieval is. Having an awareness where the powerful knowledge and what the pupils need to be retrieving from your curriculum is, and then also planning it out. So when are you going to go back over that information? When is that retrieval happening? Don't leave it ad hoc as they're walking in. Aha, do you remember this? You know, it should be planned out at Harroway. And last but not least, keeping up to date with research. So yes, using your knowledge within the classroom and your knowledge of the pupils, but also keeping a finger on the pulse of what's going on with academic research. And obviously as lead practitioners, we will be letting you know kind of what we've been reading and what we've come across. Thank you for listening.